All right, hello everyone. How's it going? We created an application called Musicality. It's an application that allows users to create an account, search a database based off of whatever parameters you place, and to connect to them via our emailer that we have set up on the application. And then eventually you want to get them to meet up and to jam as well. Based off of personal experience, I understand the struggle of trying to find a vocalist for like an upcoming performance that I've been performing at. Like I do a lot of open mics and everything, and I do a lot of covers on YouTube. You guys can search me up, Mad Mahal TV. And also, I met a lot of vocalists who very last minute always ask me to be their instrumentalist, and it's very difficult to find someone like that. So I'm going to pass it off to Greg, who can start us off with the front end.
Okay, so just to walk you through the front end, when you first sign into the site, you'll see this page. And if you're not registered, you would click to learn more, and it would show you all the different features of the site, why you would register, and what the site does. Then we click on the registration page, and on this page you can either go to a registration form and type in all your information and start a user account, or you could go to the login page. Okay, so once you log in, you'll see kind of a mirror of the first page, and you'll see it count off the number of musicians. For that, we used Count2.js, which is a JavaScript plugin. We don't actually have 1,205 things in the database, so it's set to just a fake number now, but it will be tied to the amount in the database. Then we begin our search, so we could search by a few different parameters, instrument, another instrument, city, or genre. For now, we'll just leave it as an open search because, again, we don't have that many entries in the database, but I'll let Kevin go through the back end to show you how the search actually works. So you click on Let's Jam, and it'll come up with a map of the area, who the musicians are, and what their skill level is, and these boxes down at the bottom also signify their skill level. And with this, we could sort by beginner, intermediate, or expert. If we go through, we click over the map, we'll see who's there. And if we go to the boxes, we could also see who's there. If we click on it, it will come up with the site, the person, their information, and a sample. Say we look at this guy, we don't like him. We hit pass, we move on to the next one. Keep going through, all right, let's check this guy out. All right, this guy looks good. Play a sample through. We like everything that we see. All right, I'd like to jam with this guy, so you click on email, it'll come up with an email, and we could send an email to him and contact him to jam with him in the future. And I'm going to pass this to Kevin to talk a little bit about the back end.
Okay, so our server, besides just serving up the HTML files, it has a couple key responsibilities. And the first one is authentication. So we're using Passport for authentication for this site, and Passport uses what are called strategies, and we're using a local strategy because we have our own database of usernames and passwords, but Passport has strategies for Facebook, GitHub, Google+, and that would be if you've ever gone to a website and it has login with Facebook or login with GitHub, that's using a different website to authenticate your user. And here you can just see the strategy that we're using. It's basically the user puts in their username and password, and it searches our database for the user and then matches the password that they put in with the password that we have on file, and if all of that checks out, then they've been successfully authenticated, and if it doesn't, then they haven't. So we can check out the HTML routes, and you can see that we have a get route for login, and that's just serving up the login page, but we also have a post route for login, and that's when the user puts in their username and password and clicks login, you're hitting that post route. And you can see that we're calling Passport authenticate here, and that's when we're taking the user's username and password and using them with the strategy to attempt to authenticate them. And if they fail to authenticate, they're sent back to the login page, and if they're successfully authenticated, they move on to the content page, which is the main page of our app. And you'll notice on the content path, we're calling this ensure logged in function, and this is what protects our paths against people that aren't logged in. So you can only visit that path if you're logged in. And we also have this on our API, so not anybody can just go routing through our API. And if you try to visit one of these paths and you're not logged in, it'll just kick you back to the to the login page. And the other major thing that our backend is doing is it's delivering the search results to the front end when somebody does a search. And so we can look at the page. It's right here. And so what's happening is when you choose these parameters, we're building a URL, and then when you click Let's Jam, we're actually using the URL to make an AJAX call to our API. And then when the server receives that request, it's able to parse out the different parameters from your URL, and then it creates an object of search parameters, and it feeds it into Sequelize. And then Sequelize searches our database. So it finds all users where these search parameters are true, and then we hide some sensitive information such as your password. And then all of that information is sent back to the front end in JSON, and we dynamically create these cool little boxes here. And we can actually take a look at the API. And I thought this was really cool when we created this because it works like any API that we've worked with before in the class, like New York Times or OMDB or anything. You can put in parameters. Okay.
So you can type.
Oh, yeah, sure. So you can put in like instrument equals guitar, and then it'll give you a JSON of all the guitarists in our database, and you can put in as many or as few parameters as you want. You could say and genre equals metal and city equals wherever. And so it's really cool because it allows different people to use the app for different things. And we also deal with sending emails with our server.
So I worked on implementing the email. So after you click a person's account, it brings up the email modal. So I have something typed up, and this guy's really interesting. I really want to meet him. So I'll send email, and it will actually send an email to my account. So now I know I have his account and everything. So in this case, we actually don't have their email directly posted on the page, so there's some sort of protection there. And we'll go over to the code. So it starts off, when you click the modal for each individual person, it creates a separate modal ID for each one. So in this case, it places the email subject, the message, and the email of that specific modal into an object, and it's posted to the server. If you scroll down, we use Node Mailer. So what it does is it takes simple mail transport protocol. That's how it is intended to send, and takes our login information and runs a send mail function and takes the information that we had posted, as well as the email, the subject, and the message, and sends it using the email that we have posted above, and sends it this way. So I will pass it over to Aisha to finish this off.
Thanks. Well, I originally started with testing, and that was dropped, but
I think he has Boomerang.
he does. So I can right there. Project them. So I helped Greg with the layout of the profile, and I actually worked with Boomerang to see, well, our rating is really low right now, and I put in the words for the website. And as you can see here, I used a lot of keywords that would trigger the website if someone was searching for the website, like musicality, musicians, music, write, need, band. So this way it would trigger our website. Going forward, we want to use more H4, H5, and H6 tags, because I believe we've only used 3 of them. And yeah, we want to add musicians into the title so that this way it could bring our score up, and preferably bring our website to the top when someone does a Google search. And also we want to add more links, more quality links, like a blog. What was it?
Testimonials.
Oh yeah, testimonials. I just told them this morning. We want to add a blog, testimonials, and like a wall of fame, where people that have actually gotten together and made music and had success, they can pretty much give their experience and whatnot.
One thing I kind of glossed over that I would like to go over is that search feature real quick. Now in this search feature we used a pretty cool JavaScript plugin called Isotope.js, which allows this search by class. Unfortunately, Google Maps does not have the same search by class, so we have to do an additional search, which is actually taking the information from the API, pushing it to an array of the full amount of people in that search, and then pushing that out conditionally through a for loop and if statements to 3 additional arrays that will allow these markers to be written. Now in these markers you can't really store a lot of information, you can't store classes, but I found what you can do is make up your own kind of information keys to store information, and that's where we pull a lot of this from. So we can store a name and we can store skill level in that. And so that's it. Google Maps doesn't necessarily play very well with Isotope.js, but through countless hours we got it to work. And that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I wanted one question to start with. Can you kind of show a little bit of the code?